I've said it before, Everspace 2 is, without a doubt, one of the best space shooters out there. The game has just literally gone into early access and is available in all the usual places. Now, as with a number of people out there, I've been playing the game for quite a while now via the alpha and then the beta builds. But the early access build, of course, is far more complete than all of those, so I thought you would all like to take a bit of a look as I make my way through the game. Now keep in mind that this isn't a review. What I want to do here is to actually play through the game and document it. So I'll be releasing this in various videos over the course of the next few weeks and the next few months. The game then places you in the seat of Adam, a clone from the previous game. And whereas the previous version was a roguelike, the new version is an open world RPG looter shooter. Think something along the lines of Diablo, but of course set in space. So as you can see here, the game places you in a fairly beat up ship and you have to run through some tutorial elements. We saw that back there. Basically just move back and forward, strafe left and right, roll the ship and so on. It then has us run through this little mine area, or perhaps not so little, it's a rather larger asteroid, but it's been excavated in some way and got some tunnels inside of it. Reminds me a little bit of the old games. Descent, was it? I don't know how many of you remember that back in the mid-90s, I think they were. So the idea is to try and clear the place out a bit. I'm shooting some of the Hydra things here. We don't actually need to do that, but I'm going to get rid of them just because they make the pathway a little bit clearer and a little bit easier to get through. And there we go, no snagging the wing on the doorway there. So over on the left we can see the objective, which is to reach the core. Up on the top right we can see our XP. This is our inventory. I've actually picked some items up here from the shipwreck. I think there's a couple of them here. It's worth looking around. There's another one over on the right there. So this is where the looting part comes in. There's a hell of a lot of stuff to actually pick up. Some of this is going to be worthwhile, other stuff not so much. Some of it you just going to want to sell or use for components. Other stuff you can outright use as upgrades for your current equipment. So the game is very much about building a relationship with the ship that you've got equipped at this one moment. You can of course have a whole bunch of ships. These you store at the hangar at your base, and you can swap them out pretty much any time you head back to the base. The best way to look at this is to consider a ship in much the same way you would a character class in a more traditional RPG. So you've got stealthy type ships, you've got ones that are effectively glass cannons, and you've got ones that can tank a whole load of damage. You can swap them out based on what type of mission you want to undertake, or you can simply just choose the one that best suits your particular playstyle. And we're just going to hack the terminal here. Just open the door and let us in. But there's a whole load of ways of interacting with the world. Sometimes you can just simply pick objects up, other times hold the key down to just interact. So after spending a couple of seconds just scanning around the area here, just skimming around, I came across this thing here. A trap. So up on the top left you can see my shield depleting very quickly. Below that the yellow bar is my ship's armour, and below that of course is the hull. If the hull disappears you're screwed, your ship explodes and you die. You don't get any lives or anything like that. If you die it's game over and you'll have to load in a previous save. Down the bottom you can see the weapons I've got equipped and the other equipment. I've got some missiles over on the far right there. I'm using mouse and keyboard here. The right mouse button fires the missiles, the left button fires the main weapon, and you can switch between main weapons using the mouse wheel. And I should be able to find another weapon here in just a moment. I do believe the guy I just blew up either dropped one or there may be another one located around here. Let's see what we got here. Oh, there we go. That's the coal gun I just picked up, so it's a bit more powerful than the other weapon I used. There is different damage types. We've got kinetic weapons and energy weapons, and you'll need to switch between them depending on whether you're attacking someone's shield or someone's armour or their hull. The initial mission then is all about learning the reins, just how to play the game. The first drones you encounter in this mining base are fairly easy to take down. It's very unlikely they'll destroy you unless you make yourself a complete sitting duck. Outside we've got the guy who's in charge of this particular military operation, and He sent me in to try and clear the area out, and is a little bit on the snarky side, a little bit full of himself, doesn't want to listen to anything, and is very clearly about to leave us in, or lead us into a bad situation. And you can see that happening just here. We've got to get ourselves outside. This is the drill that the drones used to get in. So just blasting the edges off, the locks, and there we go. It should open the door and we should be able to evacuate the asteroid and get out. So outside we find ourselves in a whole world of trouble. A big fleet has come and started to attack everyone. There we go. And that's how the game starts. So we find ourselves in a bit of conflict there. A whole load of ships we have to destroy, and you can see there's a whole load more to boot as well. But meanwhile, our friend here, Ben, is in a lot of trouble, and we need to get over to him to help him out. There you go, he's suffering a little bit. Poor guy. So we make our way to him. Only to find ourselves in even more trouble. So this is basically the gist of how the game starts out. As with many of these types of games, you start out with a whole load of equipment and all the mapped area of the star system and all the rest of it. But due to being captured here, we actually lose all that. I'm not going to show this video because it'll probably get copyright flagged. At least that's how things always went with the first Everspace. The general gist of this is, though, it's a whole setup of getting you out and about in the star system and the galaxy at large. We've met our first companion, Dax. He's somewhat of an engineer and will accompany us through many parts of the story. And to be perfectly fair, he'll help us out along the way as well. Now, in the little part of the video story, I actually blurred out that is a work in progress, so it's not the final form just yet, but unfortunately I'm still not very willing to show it just yet. But essentially, Adam got caught, and we escaped from the prison with Dax in this ship here. And now, before we can leave the area, we need to disable the jump suppressors here. We can actually hack them once we get close enough, but we need to take out the turrets that are actually defending them. There's 3 jump suppressors in all. And as I get just over the top here, you can see we've got the ability to hack it. There's another turret just over the other side of this building. It's going to shoot at me any second. There it goes. Let's take that out as well. Now there's 2 more jump suppressors. Once these are taken out, we are free to jump away from this base area and explore the local environment. So Everspace 2 has a variety of different travel modes, and once the jump suppressors are out of the way, we're free to enter what we could call a super light speed, super light travel, I think they call it. Basically a super cruise if you're familiar with Elite Dangerous, or quantum travel if you're familiar with Star Citizen. Now all these destinations are different areas we can travel to. These are what we know of at the moment, but due to a plot quirk, due to a plot line, our navigation has to be disabled so that we can't be tracked down, and we now can't locate all of those. We have to find them over the course of the story. But meanwhile, we can head to Rodia 2, which is going to be our home base. And you can see we can travel through space. We're free to fly where we like here in super light travel. We're moving quite fast there, 120 light seconds away. The star system is populated with various areas, space stations, asteroid zones, and of course planets. We're also free to descend down to some of the surface of those planets. Now, keep in mind that the planets aren't entirely rendered, and we can't explore the entirety of the surface, but there are some rather large zones down on them that we're free to explore, and these are laid out in various different ways and include things such as tunnels, caves, and other bases. Now, the home base is somewhere you're going to find yourself returning to again and again. On the top, you can see what we've got, what options we've got available here. There's the hangar we were in just now. Inventory, ship. This is where we can upgrade our ship. We've then got the map. Now, this is not just a map of the region Rodia, which we're in right there. We've also got the star system, as well as a whole bunch of other star systems. You do need to access jump gates, though, to get to those, and right at the start of the story, the jump gates are actually disabled, but you can see how some of those, especially Union at the moment, is broken down into different regions. Then we've got our missions. We've got a list of completed missions, as well as our current one. That's our current main mission, which is tracked right now. We've got to go out and collect a few components. That will allow us to upgrade our ship. And then on the final tab, we've got data. And this is just some information about the game world and the stuff that's therein. And of course, storage as well. Storage is what's on board our ship. We can switch items out between our ship and our inventory on the home base. Right, it's time to head out again, and we're going to complete this very simple mission here. Just a essentially grab and collect mission. Keep in mind that the early missions, as with many RPG games, are generally quite simple, and that's to introduce you to the game and its mechanics. And right here is the third travel mode for the game. This is cruise speed. Allows us to just travel around the zones much quicker, although we lose a lot of maneuverability when we enter that.
That's one ridiculous name. They have lakes there?
Even on this relatively simple mission though, we don't get left alone. We get attacked rather by some outlaw scouts. Relatively easy to destroy. We've also got some devices down on the bottom of the screen. We can see these devices have been outfitted. These you can purchase or upgrade throughout the game. The ones I've got right now are an EMP device on key 1, as well as a boost drive, which allows the ship to basically accelerate really fast, and that's bound to key 2. So essentially the way that works is if you're getting overwhelmed with enemies, use key 1, to send out an EMP blast and disable them, only for a few seconds, but usually long enough to turn the odds back in your favour. But if you're overwhelmed so much that you just can't get away, then use key 2. You'll see me doing that further into the video. So after a bit of hunting and gathering around the immediate environment, we've got everything we need, and the next stage of the mission is to return back to the home base. As long as we don't hit the top there. Very easy to dock, lovely animation there. So this is where we get a glimpse at the perk system. Dax, one of our companions, can actually help us out with this, and we will pick up other companions on the way. So perks serve a whole bunch of different purposes. In this case, we're upgrading at the station. Repair the station's reactor to restore power to all compartments and unlock further perks. And that is something we're going to see in further videos. And there we go, reactor repaired. So this will take us on to the next step of the story, and it says from scratch. That's basically because we're starting from scratch. Remember the map that was unlocked previously and then was disabled because we had to disable our nav beacon? Well, unfortunately, we've got to keep our nav beacon disabled so that the enemies can't locate us. This means that we've then got to locate each area, each region, bit by bit, and we're going to have to go out there and actually get to that. So this is where our buddy Dax takes us and shows us to the map system. You can see basically it's completely unpopulated except for the planet that we're right around, Rhodia, and the home base. This then sends us on our next mission, which is 3 steps. You can see the 3 question marks with the yellow surround diamond shaped boxes. These are 3 different destinations that we've got to go to. Each of them have some type of radar there that will allow us to populate at least a part of our current map. So the systems here are damaged. Our job is to come out here and fix them. There's also an escape pod here, so this is where you may find some side missions or some other areas of interest that might not be directly related to the mission at hand. So the choice here was to go and have a look at that escape pod first before having a look at the actual object or the objective that we were here to do. And they can see a little logbook on the escape pod.
Looks like the pilot never made it back to his freighter. It may still even be.
So you can see we've got an optional mission there, and that will take us elsewhere in this particular star system. So for some reason, the pieces of equipment we need to repair are called beanbags, and this one here is infested with hydras. Very easy to clear off, we just shoot them. Couple more there and we should be good to go. 71% complete by the mission stat up the side, 86%, one more, and the beacon is clear.
Excellent. For a proper disappearing act, we need 2 more. Feels like
So as the guy said, we need 2 more bean bags to be cleared up or fixed, but I wanted to take a look at that side mission we located from the escape pod. That's at this undiscovered site, so we're nearly there. One thing you can do when you're in super cruise or super light speed travel is to switch on the autopilot, and that actually that makes things just a little bit easier to get to, but Entirely up to you, really. And there's another unknown signal just appear above that. I don't know if you saw that just before we jumped out, or jumped back to normal space. So it's brought us here, and you can see there's a shipwreck. This is obviously where that escape pod left from, or escaped from. There's all manner of things that could go on in an area like this. You can actually go right inside the wrecks and explore. This particular one was relatively easy. Sometimes there's a puzzle here, sometimes it may be infested with enemies. So pretty much a whole bunch of different things could go on. There's actually a cargo container down there. Let's go and collect that first. Just some random bits and pieces. Now right inside the shipwreck there's a little shield there, force field. We can't get through that. There's a number of generators located in here, and we can actually destroy the generators and get access to what's behind the force field. So sometimes a little bit of work and a little bit of figuring out to try and do this. A little bit too close there. If I back off a bit, the weapons fire can get through the hole. Destroyed the generator, and the shield is now down. So in here we've got a power core. Power cores are useful for, well, I guess they're useful for powering things. I'm going to grab that power core. This one's unstable, and we can actually use it to power something. Sometimes these power cores power down before you get them to the objective, so you need to be reasonably quick to do so. So in this case, the power module goes into a power socket just around the other side of the shipwreck, and that allows us access to this sealed off room, inside of which is this bulletproof container, which in turn actually holds something rather interesting. A nice new energy cube, or energy core rather, for our ship. It's helped power things up a little bit better. You can see the output is quite a bit better. And we've also got a nice new shield. So not bad for taking on the side mission there. For me then, this is the thing that's so appealing about Everspace 2. The freeform exploration and ability just to go and check different things out, collecting loot, and just generally getting immersed in the various areas and various things that the game throws at you. So this basically gives us a very early look at the first steps or first stages of the game. As with Everspace 1, Everspace 2 is something I'd like to cover on this channel over time, so there'll definitely be more videos coming up. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.